Starstruck.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Joyride. I am Jared Brandon Fandy, and
I am Adam Mendenhall.
this is the podcast where we talk about all things transportation and adventure. And today we'll be doing another scripted story episode. But first, Adam, we of course have to have a few words from our sponsors as usual. And as once again, we have British Parts Northwest. Since 1982, British Parts Northwest has been your source for all your British car needs. They have knowledgeable staff who can help you find whatever you need to make sure your car is in the best condition possible. They carry quality parts brands such as Lucas, TRW, and Borg & Beck. British Parts Northwest is based out of the United States but ships both domestically and internationally and offers same-day shipping as well. You can place your order by phone by calling this number, 503-864-2001. That number again is 503-864-2001. You can also place your order online by going to bpnorthwest.com. Remember to spell out the word Northwest. British Parts is celebrating its 40th anniversary by teaming up with the Starstruck Podcast Network to bring you hit shows like Joyride. To claim 10% off on your next online purchase at bpnorthwest.com, use discount code Joyride. That's discount code Joyride. We'd also like to give a shout out to Noah Norwood of the Hot Rod Kid podcast. Noah is a professional automotive restorer as well. He restores classic Mustangs as well as the old V8 Fords from the Bonnie and Clyde era. His podcast, once again, is the Hot Rod Kid podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Okay, Adam. You're going to like this one because you are a Volvo enthusiast, correct?
Absolutely. Born and bred.
So this one's very Swedish. This is a very Swedish themed episode here. All right. I'm not talking, it doesn't necessarily have IKEA and meatballs, but
Swedish is good regardless.
So the title of this episode is Dagen, the day Sweden stood still.
Ooh.
Almost 75% of the world is required to drive on the right side of the road, and 25% is required to drive on the left. This was not always the case, however. For most of human history, the entire world generally kept to the left, very, very much like Australia, Japan, and the United Kingdom. Europe, for example, followed this custom for thousands of years. There is evidence the ancient travelers of the Roman Empire kept to the left, and even after the empire fell in the 5th century AD, the succeeding countries of Europe continued to do as the Romans did. There are a series of reasons for this. One of the main reasons is most people are right-handed, so when you're on horseback, it was easier to interact with others on the road or defend yourself with a sword since your dominant hand was closer to the middle of the road. Sounds slightly Monty Python-esque, I realize.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You may not have the coconuts.
But you had the sword hand placement.
Yeah. So, just a second here. The other reason was since most people are right-handed, once again, it was easier for them to mount the horse from the left side of the road. This would not always be the case, of course. Things began to change during the French Revolution, which was between 1789 and 1799. Before the Revolution, it was common for the wealthy to travel in their luxurious carriages on the left side of the road, while the poor were forced to walk on the right. Peasants, you know.
Commoners.
During this time, France was an absolute monarchy with a severe division of wealthy and poor. After the Revolution, France had managed to become a more egalitarian society. As a result, the remaining affluent members of French society decided to try and blend in better with the masses by traveling on the right side of the road. So it's like, I don't want to lose my head.
It's safer.
Consequently, some began to migrate to the left while traveling in the opposite direction, naturally. The trend would become more popular when Napoleon Bonaparte came to power in 1799. In 1804, he was crowned emperor by himself and continued on his quest of conquering all of Europe. Eventually, the first French Empire had taken over many territories of the continent, and along with the French came their new system of traveling on the right, displacing the ancient Roman custom. It's like, hello, welcome, you're French now, you go to this side of the road, because we said so.
Because we said so.
That's pretty much it. One of the few places Napoleon was not able to invade was Britain. With this in mind, they did not have to adhere to the new French traffic rules. Britain had traveled on the left for thousands of years, like the rest of Europe, but eventually decided to give France the finger when they made it official by passing a law in 1835 to stay to the left.
It's official now.
As Britain and France began to expand their overseas empires later in the 19th century, their methods of road travel traveled along with them around the globe. This is why many former European colonies to this day have differing road rules regarding the direction of travel. The American colonies, along with Canada, originally traveled on the left side of the road like everywhere else. We did it here even. But conversion began to happen independently in the United States around the same time as France, but for different reasons. One of the main reasons was a type of wagon that was common in America at the time, the Conestoga wagon, which was one of those large covered wagons you saw when you played Oregon Trail. You know? Mm-hmm. They were large teamster wagons with many horses. So this is what ended up happening. There was so many horses, in fact, that the driver usually ended up sitting on the horse to the left in order to whip the rest of the horses effectively. With the driver on the left, the only way he could get a good view of the road was to position the wagon on the right side of the road. Now, these are big wagons with lots of horses, okay? Other travelers began to comply because Conestoga wagons were so large they scared the shit out of anyone coming from the opposite direction and would get out of the way, moving to the other side of the road.
Wow.
So,
sheer presence.
so you just turn the corner. Oh, Jesus. This thing's coming at you.
Out of the way.
As the world continued to spin, so did the hands of Father Time's clock. The 19th century became the 20th century, and our faithful friend the horse began to be replaced by the automobile, of course. Back in Europe, most of the continent had moved away from the old Roman custom by driving on the right side of the road. Even most northern parts of Europe, such as Norway and Finland, had done so, but one Scandinavian country refused to budge: Sweden. Being a highly industrial part of Europe, Sweden already had its own thriving car industry with manufacturers such as Saab and Volvo. Saab originally and still is an airplane manufacturer, but after World War II, they decided to diversify their business by building cars as well. Volvo originally was a subsidiary company of the ball bearing manufacturer SKF, but like Saab, they also decided to diversify. As a fun fact, Volvo is a Latin word that means to roll, harkening back to the parent company's identity as a ball bearing manufacturer.
Nicely put.
Unlike Ford and Volkswagen, however, Saab and Volvo initially did not build the people's car. Saab and Volvo were both seen as more upper market brands. Since the Swedish population needed a cheaper mode of transportation like everyone else, Sweden at this time began to rely heavily upon American imports. This was fine, but there was one problem. Most of the American cars were left-hand drive. Do you see some problems foreshadowing here?
Oh, just a few.
Early Ford vehicles initially kept with the tradition by putting the steering wheel on the right side of the car, but this would change with the Model T, which were all built with the steering wheel on the left. As a result, most Swedish car owners were driving on the left side of the road with a car that was not equipped for this. As you can imagine, auto accidents were very common, especially regarding head-on collisions, since a driver did not have a very good view of the road when they needed to overtake or pass a slow-moving vehicle.
Oh my gosh.
You see how that you can't see as well. In the post-war period of Sweden, car ownership had exploded. The cars did not explode. Car ownership exploded. It was only expected to get bigger. Understandably, the government of Sweden began to worry about the safety aspects of this many cars on the road, with many of them being left-hand drive. Oddly enough, there was one place in Sweden where people did drive on the right. At one point in time, a mistake was made with a map regarding the border between Norway and Sweden. A town that was thought to be in Norway actually turned out to be in Sweden. Imagine, yeah, it's like, we made a little whoopsie, sir.
Minor mistake.
Oh, by the way, you're not Norwegian, you're Swedish now. Swedish citizens who lived in the area just decided to travel on the right since Norwegian roads had been built there anyway. Despite this little area, accidents kept occurring nationwide. In 1955, a referendum was held regarding the major decision of switching over, which proved to be massively unpopular. How unpopular do you think it was?
Oh,
by vote? Yeah, well, how much was the percentage of no, do you think?
Oh, I'm going to guess 70%.
You're close. When the results came in, 83% of Swedish voters voted no and decided to keep to the left.
Oh, my God.
Which is understandable.
Oh,
You've just always done it so one way for forever. And so it's like, imagine doing that here just the other way around. It probably would not be very popular.
No.
So, almost another decade had rolled by, and accidents continued to be a major problem. Eventually, the Swedish parliament decided to take action when it passed the prime minister's proposal of the road conversion in 1963, since car ownership had risen from 500,000 to 1.7 million. Mind you, this is 1963. They're still doing this, you know? The project would become known as Dagen H, or H-Day. Now, if anyone's Swedish, I'm going to absolutely butcher this, but this is what the full name means, okay? And the full name became known as Höga Trafiken Kollaben Igen Ingen, something of that nature.
Valiant attempt. Yeah.
Which literally means the right-hand traffic reorganization.
Wow.
But just, correctly known as H-Day. With the proposal finally being passed, the considerable amount of logistics had to be put in motion in order to make the plan possible. In 1963, a commission was set up to educate and comfort the public regarding the big change. This program and PR campaign would last for 4 years, since the chosen year of conversion was 1967. During this period, a national song contest was held in order to find an appropriate theme song for H-Day. The band that won the contest were named the Telstars, and the song they wrote was called Keep Right Svensson.
That's creative.
You could go on YouTube and listen. It's a dorky 60s song. Despite that, it eventually became the number 5 hit in the country.
Wow.
As part of the education campaign, an H-Day logo was created. It was an italicized H within a somewhat offset rectangle. In 1960s Sweden, this logo would become even more famous than the Beatles. It was put everywhere.
Now that's saying something.
Yeah, this included car windows, milk cartons, and even ladies' lingerie.
Now that's a variety.
I guess they're trying to make sure everyone sees it.
No kidding.
Aside from the logo, 130,000 signs were put in place as an extra reminder for the public. The underwear method still been the more popular method, however. With the public now thoroughly educated about the plan, it was now time to actually start the long and arduous process. Over 350,000 signs had to be removed. 2,000 had to be removed in Stockholm alone. Some signs were able to be mirrored, including the moose signs. It was felt moose were more likely to come from the right side of the road anyway. Despite my research, I'm not entirely sure why they came to that conclusion.
That is interesting. Why the moose would come from that side of the road. But
entire intersections had to be reconstructed so traffic can merge in the new direction. New lights and posts were set up, but were covered with black plastic that would not be removed until the imminent arrival of H-Day. Road stripes also had to be repainted as well. The original yellow lines were covered with black tape, and then white lines white lines were painted for the new direction of travel. To this day, Swedish roads predominantly have white paint lines and not yellow paint lines that are more commonly seen around the world.
That's fast. That's wow.
Mm-hmm.
Something you wouldn't think of.
Bus transportation was also a major problem. On one-way streets, entire bus stops had to be removed and put on the other side of the road.
To accommodate, naturally.
I'm just seeing, I don't know if they did it by hand, I'm just seeing like 7 Swedish guys just lifting these things up. Pink Panther style, shuffling over to the other side.
Oh, here we
go. Let's see here. The buses themselves proved to be problematic since most of them were right-hand drive and had to have doors installed on both sides of the vehicles now. Refitting them proved to be one of the most expensive aspects of the conversion project. Consequently, not every bus was converted, and many were sold to Pakistan and other former British colonies that still kept the left.
Wow.
As the big day neared, the conversion of infrastructure and machinery may have been completed, but it was only one piece of a very large puzzle. A project of this size would also require people, and a lot of people. In order to make sure the conversion went as smoothly as possible, it would require an army of willing participants. When the pages of Sweden's calendars turned to September 1st of 1967, H-Day was only 2 days away. On September 2nd, the atmosphere was more joyful than one might expect. Festivities and fireworks began to light up the atmosphere as the wee hours of the night approached. There's probably people getting drunk, too, as they're right before they're making a major traffic change.
Imagine that combination. Yeah, that's something to bestow.
As an extra note, Scandinavia is a lover of, quote, slow TV. So if you've ever seen one of those shows where it does nothing but document an entire train route, it's likely a Swedish or Norwegian train. You ever see those?
Oh, yes.
It's very popular there.
Yep.
In the case of H-Day, live television coverage during the middle of the night, aided by a team of reporters, was there to document the switch, which I'm sure was riveting television. Mind you, at this time, there was only one television station in all of Sweden, so everyone in the nation who owned a television set were able to watch these live events happen at the same time.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. When H-Day arrived, the black plastic was removed from the new streetlights, and the authorities were put on alert. All non-essential travel was banned from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., but essential travel was allowed. Milk deliveries, I don't know, something of that nature. Ambulances, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Essential functions only. Yeah, that's
mm-hmm.
interesting. They went that route.
Yeah. Door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman, maybe. I don't
Vodka delivery. Wait, that's
most
Russia.
likely.
Yeah,
But still, most likely. Something beer.
Yeah.
These few vehicles that were on the road in the middle of the night had to stop at 4:50 a.m. In certain places, a horn would blare and a loudspeaker would announce, quote, "Now is the time to change over." After the motorists came to a complete stop, they then had to move over to the right side of the road. 10 minutes later, at 5 a.m., they had to stop again so other drivers could make the switch as well in order to avoid any head-on collisions.
Oh, my God. I can't even imagine that. That would be so confusing for so many people. Just unnatural feeling.
You can see pictures in towns like Stockholm. It's just a giant...
Just cluster.
In Stockholm and Malmö, another town, the rule lasted from 10 a.m. on Saturday till 3 p.m. on Sunday. During the switch, over 10,000 police and military personnel were brought in to help the public transition as smoothly as possible. There was also over 100,000 volunteers who were there to help people cross the street by reminding them they had to look both ways. Sweden has been driving on the had been driving on the left side of the road officially for 233 years, and in one day it was over.
Jeez.
Thankfully, this endeavor had been in the making for years, and many people were involved to make it happen. Due to the amount of prep work, very little accidents occurred during H-Day. Only 157 accidents were reported during the switch, 32 were personal injuries, and only 3 were serious. Those who were expecting absolute mayhem were sorely disappointed the next morning.
I'm shocked, actually. I would have never guessed numbers like that. That's impressive. It goes to show the preparation paid off.
Yep. Rates of accidents had indeed lowered 6 weeks after the switch, but afterward they began to increase back to they were before H-Day. It's thought since the rate of car ownership continued to grow, this naturally increased the rates of accidents despite the new roads being statistically safer. All in all, it was still a good decision since neighboring countries and Sweden no longer had to switch sides during continental travel. So imagine if you lived on the Canadian border in Washington and you had to go to the other side of the road suddenly.
It's hard to imagine that, but what a huge advantage to have that, streamlined the same.
When all was said and done, H-Day proved to be a monumental day for Sweden. It ended up being the largest logistical event in the history of Sweden, surpassing even World War II.
Now that's a crazy figure. Wow.
The project cost 120 million American dollars in 1967, which was about 930 million US in today's money. So almost $1 billion. Some people may have not liked the change, but change is something one ultimately cannot stop. Sweden learned, as difficult as H-Day was, they needed to change their direction, and literally. H-Day may have been difficult, but in the end, the Swedish proved they were as tough as their Viking ancestors. The choice they made was hard, but it was the right thing to do since it benefited everyone, which proves Swedish idealism is the most Swedish character trait of all. And that is the end of our story.
Well, it's always interesting to hear things from that side of the world, and Swedish they always have a way to put a spin on things, whether it's food, cars, drinks, or, for example, something like that.
Yeah, and for the most part, I mean, there's some places in Africa, but generally you think Japan, Australia, the UK, they all have something in common. They're islands, so they don't really have to comply,
That's true.
with the rest of the continents they're next to.
Yeah.
And I think, don't hold me on this, but I think I've read in the past Britain has considered switching over. But
have they?
They have considered it, but here's the thing: Sweden's has more mountainous terrain, and at the time there wasn't as many paved roads, so it was easier to do. Britain, since they're on that little island, they got to be more compact and efficient, and so their infrastructure is highly, highly developed. And so they looked into the amount it would cost to switch over. It was astronomical.
With all of their existing infrastructure and systems.
At this point in time, they decided it's just not practical to do.
So they'll keep the world interesting for folks like ourselves when we go to visit.
Yeah. When we went to Scotland, we rented a car, and my dad was the one driving. And mind you, it's a stick shift too, so you have to shift with your left hand, not your right hand.
Yeah, that's such a different dynamic. I hope to experience that someday. That's on my list.
It was a little kind of clutching the dash at first, but he figured it out pretty fast. It comes quicker than you'd think, apparently.
Well, it's just it keeps it real entertaining when you have to make an adjustment like that. Literally flip-flop from left to right.
I'm sure there's people that still, that wasn't very long ago, so I'm sure there's still people that tell stories to younger people over in Sweden about that to this day.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Again, it's impressive that they were able to keep the collateral damage as low as they did with the amount of accidents that incurred as a result of that switch.
Yeah. But, yes, so, what I like to point out, too, is that, the pedals are not like the other way around. They just basically take everything over here and move it over.
Exactly. And so, with the orientation of like a stick shift, for example, where in America, being a left-hand drive, first gear would be closest to you. Well, on the right-hand side drive over in Britain, it would be farthest away.
Yeah. Remember that Jag type I had? There was, I think the dome light went out, and so I went, probably the fuse, just needs a new fuse. So I look in, where do you go to the fuse box naturally?
Oh.
Under the dash, right?
Under the dash,
okay.
Yeah.
So I crawl underneath the dash, and there's no fuse box. I'm like, what?
What? How do they handle it?
Yeah, so I get out the manual. I still kept it, and I'm looking. Okay, where's the fuse box at? Because there's an external one, but there's always an internal one, right? And so I'm going to the book, and I'm looking at the picture, and it says the fuse box is underneath the dash, and I'm going, no, it's not. But I looked at the picture a little bit harder, and the dash they were showing was on the right side of the car.
Oh.
Because the car, it was a left-hand drive Jag, but it was originally designed to be right-hand drive. So, no kidding, I go and crawl underneath the passenger side, and there's the fuse box.
Right there. Well, it goes to show catering to its origins, of course. Yeah.
All right, so I think we're going to come to a little conclusion here. That was kind of a fun episode. I do like those internationally themed ones. Do you have any other thoughts here, Adam, before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's just always, it's an example of left brain versus right brain and thinking how processes are thought out and executed elsewhere, especially when it involves something as extensive as that. So that applies to a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, first time you drive a right-hand drive vehicle, we're going to record it, all right?
Yeah, we'll have to.
Okay. All right, everyone. So that is the end of Season 4. We plan to be back. But before we wrap up, we actually just want to actually announce one thing. We're doing a little bit of a contest here. So the scripts that me and Adam work on, that we do these episodes on, we will, the two that were in this season, we will bind them, and we will both personally sign that. And we, of course, love to send everyone a script, but we obviously possibly can't. So the first 3 people that email us at our email, which is Joyride Starstruck, all one word, all lowercase, Joy, or yeah, Y, RIDESTARSTRUCK at gmail.com. The first 3, if you send us your name and your address, we will send that to you. But if you are in a foreign country, please do be very specific on your address, since we're Americans, which means we only speak one language, unfortunately. So we hope to get that out to you if anyone is interested in that. So with that said, we will be back soon for more exciting stories and good casual chats. So
Indeed, we will.
And by all means, leave us a good 5-star review, a good like, share us on social media, tell your friends. We appreciate your Patreon support, and check out our other links in the descriptions that come with these episodes as well. So with that said, we will catch you next time. All right, Adam?
We'll see you then.
All right. Signing out.